Hi, Steve Clifford, and today I'm going to talk about this thing. This is a scope riser. This is actually not a real expensive item. This is about 30 bucks on Amazon. It's made by UTG, and it raises the scope up by an inch. Now I'm using very high rings on top of that riser. That puts the total scope height at 3.5 inches over the bore. I've done a video on this before, and I want to be clear, this is not a Steve Clifford idea. This is something that Frank Galley from Sniper's Hide and his buddy Chris Way came up with, and they've been doing this now for a while. I started doing this about 8-9 months ago, and I got to tell you, I love it. It's worked so well, and I want to explain in my words why it works so well. But in order to really illustrate it, I want to start by showing a conventionally mounted scope. Now, this scope is mounted in a way that most people would think is ideal. It's nice and low over the bore. There's almost no gap there, so it's as low as you can get it. A lot of people really prefer this, but I want to show you what happens when I address this rifle. When I come up behind this gun and I want to see through it, I'm going to close my eyes and try and keep my head as level as I can and get behind it. If I open my eyes, I'm looking right over the top of the scope. I'm looking right at about the top of the turret. So I need to dip my head down and I need to cant it slightly. So now I can see the full field of view through the scope. Take a look at where my eye is in my eye socket right now. You notice I am looking up and slightly to the left. Not a huge amount, but enough. And you'll notice that my cheek is the index point. That's going to be important in a little bit. My cheek is the index point, and for my cheek to be the index point, it means I've had to roll my head slightly to do that. Well, there's a couple problems with that. Number one, in order to hold that position of looking up and to the left, it takes muscles. It takes muscles in your in your eye socket. Those muscles can hold for a while, but eventually they get tired. You get fatigue. And that's why you can't stay looking through a scope like this for too terribly long, is you start getting eye fatigue and eye strain. It's not so much because of the magnified lens. I think it's because it's the strain in your eye of holding that position of looking through the scope for that long. The other problem is because I've had to lean my head slightly, your brain doesn't like seeing things off kilter. Your brain straightens everything out that it's getting, but when it straightens everything out, then your crosshairs, that vertical crosshair doesn't look straight anymore, and you start trying to get that thing looking straight in your vision. That causes a problem because then you can't the rifle, you tilt the rifle. That's why we get these things, these bubble levels. You have to have a bubble level because you're fighting your brain. Your brain thinks everything is lined up, but it's not, and so you have to trust your bubble level. Your brain is fighting reality. So on a hunting rifle that you're only shooting 200, maybe 250, 300 yards, that's not a huge deal. A little bit of cant isn't going to hurt you. You get out to longer ranges and it very much will hurt you. So you need the bubble level, but you have to have it because you're fighting your brain in order to keep everything level. So you've got the eye strain issue, you've got the bubble level issue, or the horizontal vertical issue. Let's go over and see what happens when you address a rifle that has a scope mounted 3.5 inches over bore. By the way, that one is about 2 inches, so we're 1.5 inches higher over here. Watch what happens when I close my eyes and address this rifle. Okay, I'm looking straight through the scope right now. You see where my eye is? It's centered in the eye socket, isn't it? I'm not looking left or right. I'm not looking up and down. I've got a nice view looking straight ahead. I can maintain this position for a lot longer. I also want you to notice where the butt of this rifle is on my shoulder. On that one, slightly out here, really in the pocket of your shoulder. This one, I'm in more towards the center of my body. Why does that matter? Well, it's about recoil control. During recoil, the gun is going to come back. And if it is off to the side like this, it's going to want to buck in like that. Well, if it bucks in like that, that takes you off of target. You can't see your impacts. Whereas if you are very close to the center line of your body, that's not such a big issue. It's coming straight back and pushing your body straight backwards instead of off to the side. So better recoil management. Also, my head is not tilted. I can come up behind this gun and my head's not tilted. Everything looks level. Now I can verify it with my bubble level, but it's not such a big issue. Nothing looks off center. Nothing looks canted as I'm looking through it. And because it is so high up and I'm not using my cheek weld anymore, if you notice, I'm using a jaw weld. My jaw is down here, straight underneath my eye. So you've got a direct line from the center of my eye right down to where my jaw hits the rifle. It puts me in a much more natural position. It keeps me centered behind the crosshairs. It keeps me centered behind the rifle because I'm using a jaw weld rather than a cheek weld. Let me show you what this does to you in prone, because the benefits don't end here. And before I even get to that, let me mention what Chris Way found out as he was experimenting with all of this. So Chris has a drill called the craft drill. The craft drill is you take a shot from standing, a shot from kneeling, a shot from sitting, a shot from prone, and you repeat that 3 times, changing position from all of those different positions, shooting at the same target. And what he found was most shooters have 4 different centers to their group, and it depends where they are behind the gun. You can eliminate some of that by adjusting the parallax on your scope, but you are inducing parallax because each time you get behind the gun, you're in a slightly different position, and that slightly different position means that it shifts your point of impact ever so slightly downrange. He found that when he went with this style of a scope mount, that everything seemed to get more consistent quicker, and it makes it easier to get into the same position behind the gun each time. Let's go over and show you what this looks like in prone. Now, in prone shooting, there's different approaches. Some people want to go all the way, dead down onto the floor. I took a class from Frank Galley. Frank is more of an advocate of keeping the gun up. And the reason is you can stay in that position a lot longer. Chris Way said, look at a kid. Look at how a 5-year-old watches TV. They lay on the floor, they put their elbows under their chin, and they're in about this position. They're kind of angled up so that they can watch TV. Well, that same angle is pretty comfortable. That's a position that you can stay in. So keeping your body up a bit helps keep your back in alignment. It keeps you from needing to crane your neck as much. And for bigger guys or older guys or people with neck problems, that higher prone position is really going to help. But you need a taller bipod for that, because if the back of the rifle is up here, you need to bring the front of the rifle up. So you need a taller bipod. You also need a taller rear bag. And he goes through all that. Mark Taylor designed a taller rear bag specifically for prone shooting. Now, if you raise the scope, that means you can actually bring the gun down a little bit. So you can bring your bipod down a click or 2 and still maintain a level rifle. Let me show you what that's going to look like here. So you get behind it, and again, I'm not dead down on the floor. I'm not extended down like that. I'm in about the same position that a 5-year-old would be watching TV. My body is more in line. I'm not having to strain my neck, and I get a much more comfortable shooting position. and it works out really, really well. So this is a position that you can maintain for a long time. You'll also notice how far towards the center line of my shoulder this stock is. This is really close to the center of my spine, and recoil control and recoil management is much, much easier from this position. So I've done this with several of my rifles. Does it look ridiculous? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I get it. And the old dudes at the range are going to snicker and not quite understand it. But if you're out shooting them and you're able to train better and more comfortably and have a more natural position with your eye, you're getting better natural point of aim, you've got better recoil management. What's there to snicker at? Anyway, give it a try, see what you think. The only thing I haven't really done yet is I haven't tried this on a rifle with a hunting stock. I don't know why it wouldn't work. As long as you have a low enough comb that you can get that jaw weld on. I just haven't tried it. So if you have, let me know how it worked out for you. I'm Steve Clifford. Thanks for watching.